Not long after we got our Rockwood, Abby and I had discussed potentially doing a cross country trip just to see, the US. So that was in 2020. Uh, but in late 2023, we had started talking about it a little bit more and decided that we should probably do it sooner rather than later because Bailee was getting older and we wanted her to see what we saw. Um, and we wanted to do it while she still could, since she has arthritis in her hind legs. It's hard for her to get up from laying or sitting down and go up the stairs in the trailer and whatnot. So we decided we would start looking into it, and I started planning out our route. So I laid all that out and also picked some campgrounds that I thought would work, but really I gave Abby the path that I wanted to take and the things that I thought we should see. And she refined it and found campgrounds that made more sense for the path that we were going to take and also the things that we wanted to see. So, with that, we decided um, June of 2024, we would head west, make it as far as Yellowstone, and then head south down into Arizona and then back across the southern states east. But this video here is the video of our trip. On June 7th, 2024, we left Pittsburgh and headed to our first stop, which was the Chateau Winery and Vineyard in Helena, Ohio. That was a harvest host that Abby had found. Okay, it's Saturday, June 7th. We're here in Helena, Ohio at the Chateau, however you pronounce it, Winery and Vineyard. Got here last night, met some nice people, and today we are off to Portage, Indiana, to Lakeshore RV Resort or something like that. And we'll be visiting Indiana Dunes State Park, and from there we might take a ride up to Chicago so that Bailee wave to see Chicago, to see the Navy Pier, just so Bailee can see that, since we did a few years ago. So that's where we're at. Should be a 3.5 hour drive, and we'll see you when we get there. But for now, here's a view of the area of where we stayed last night. And back to me. I have no idea what that recorded since I turned the GoPro the whole way around, but it was a good time. Chateau Winery and Vineyard, Helena, Ohio. Check it out. On the second day of our trip, we headed west to Indiana Dunes National Park in Indiana. Okay, so right now we are in Indiana Dunes State Park. It is Bailee's first national park. It's not a state park, it's Indiana Dunes National Park. So as you can see, it's most likely going to rain, so we'll be cutting this one a little bit short. And Bailee is getting up. Come on, frog. Anyway, Indiana Dunes National Park. Pretty cool. About 10-15 minute walk from the parking area, but it's pretty nice when you come down here. Water is absolutely freezing, but it's a good time. Bailee enjoyed the water. She's soaking wet and of course had to dig in the sand. Well, stop number 2, Indiana Dunes National Park, Indiana. We're about an hour away from Chicago, which you can probably maybe see over my shoulder this way, but it's pretty far out there. Might be a little easier to see if the weather cooperated, but it is what it is. On to the next stop. Okay, so we're at the Lakeside Camp Shore Resort or something. We'll use resort loosely. Um, Apparently this used to be Yogi Bear or something like that, but it's definitely a little iffy. But it worked. Rained last night. Spent the entire night inside the trailer, but that's okay. It was a good time anyway. So now we are off to Sioux Falls, Sioux City, KOA in South Dakota, which should take, it says just under 8 hours, but I have a feeling it's going to take a little bit longer than that, and if that's the case, so be it. We'll see you when we get there. That campground was a little iffy, but it worked. And Abby likes to pose for the camera sometimes.
Hi!
One thing I forgot to mention is we did stop at a Bass Pro Shops, which was both Abby and Bailee's first time there. Bailee got to sniff the skins where you shoot the pellet guns or whatever they are, and also check out the fish in the big aquarium. So we left Indiana Dunes and headed west towards our next stop, which was Kennebec Park in Omaha. Along the way there, we did have another incident, and luckily, you know, this ended up being a 6,000-mile trip, 17 states, and we only had one, I'd say, close call on the highway, and that came in Iowa, I believe, and we were cruising along the highway in this minivan. I don't know what it was doing, but it almost sideswiped us. So with that, keep an eye on the right side of the screen, which would have been the driver's side of the truck and trailer. Oh!
How did that happen?
I obviously muted some of that because I had music playing in the background, but you can hear Abby say at the end, "How did that happen?" And honestly, I have no idea what those people, I don't know if it was a woman or a guy, were doing, but I feel like that was pretty close. Luckily, that was our only, you know, I'd say incident during that whole trip. So from there, we continued our journey west, and we ended up needing fuel. So we stopped at a Casey's somewhere. I have no idea where we were, but it was a little picturesque area, and I had to take a picture of Bailee, which you could see here smiling for the camera and just loving life at this point. So from there, we headed to Omaha, and as soon as you cross into there, I think it's as soon as you cross the state line, up on the hill, you'll see two massive Union Pacific locomotives, if you want to call them. I know the one's a steam locomotive, the other one, diesel, electric, whatever. Um, that was something that I've always wanted to see, and I really wanted to go there, so we did stop But we pulled over, or we pulled into the park. It's called Kennefic Park, which is, like I said, in Omaha. And we got to take pictures and see up close and personal the big boy steam locomotive and the DDA 40X. I'm looking for it here. DDA 40X um, diesel locomotive, not diesel electric, like I think I said before, but diesel locomotive. So pretty cool to see. And all three of us, that was our first experience seeing those engines up close. We left Kennefic Park and headed north to our next stop, which was Sioux City, South Dakota, or is there Sioux City KOA North, something like that, which was in South Dakota, right over the Iowa South Dakota border. We got there, we got unhooked, and decided we want to go out. We wanted to go out for maybe food and drinks or whatever. So we headed into Sioux City, Iowa, and found a bar right near the Hard Rock Casino, and it was called Crash Boom Bang. Abby goes in and asks if the patio is dog friendly, but it turns out the bar is also dog friendly. So we go in with Bailee, each order a drink or two. I don't remember what we had there. And we ended up putting Bailee on one of the bar stools, and she sat at the bar like she was waiting for a drink. And the bartender actually took this picture and texted to Abby so that we could have it. That was one of the more entertaining. We had a lot of entertaining moments along the trip, but that definitely ranked as one of the highest. Okay, so today we are at the Sioux City North KOA in South Dakota. Pretty nice campground, sort of close to a highway, so it's somewhat noisy but not too bad, tolerable. The campground itself is pretty nice. Got here around 8 o'clock last night and just getting ready to pack up and head west. So we're going to be heading west on 90, stopping in Badlands, back up onto 90, and then down through Custer, up to see Mount Rushmore, and through Sturgis, just to drive through it, see what it's like, see what the bikers all see. And then our destination today is Deadwood Black Hills KOA. I think that's what it's called. So looks like a nice day today. Hopefully it's clear skies through the day during the trip, and see you when we get there. Bailee, you want to say hi? Bailee, let's say hi. No, she sees people, so she's just more interested in them than us. So okay, we'll see you when we get to either Badlands, or not sure, whenever I'll pull the camera back out. On to the next one. We left Sioux City and headed to our next stop, which would have been the Badlands National Park in South Dakota. And on the way there, we kept seeing signs for 1880 Town. So we were pulling up, we were on the highway and we were getting close to the exit. We could see it, and we decided, you know what, we're in no rush, so let's stop. So we get off the exit, park, go in, and explore 1880 Town. I don't know if Dances with Wolves, I forget what the name of the movie is, with Kevin Costner, was either filmed there, or different parts were filmed there, or buildings were used, something like that. But they have some of the props and whatnot, so it's sort of a museum slash old town. So they have a bunch of old buildings, which I think, what I read or what somebody said, they were reassembled on site. So they are not from that specific spot, but they are all original, maybe, buildings. Um, So that was pretty cool to see. There was an old church, a train, which, you know, that fascinates me. And it was a cool little place to visit. Bailee was in jail for a second. You can see here. And yeah, it was a neat little. I'm glad we stopped. It sort of delayed us a little bit, but I'm glad we stopped because we got one of my favorite pictures from the entire trip, which you can see here. This was on an old wooden caboose, and I don't know why. I just really like this picture. Um, on a sad note, we did lose Bailey's poop bag holder somewhere in 1880 town. So it may still be there. It may have been thrown out. We have no idea, but we did lose that somewhere along our stop. From 1880 town, we headed towards the Badlands. Um, I didn't want to do the full drive through the Badlands because I was trying to save time. So I found what I thought was a shortcut that would get us halfway through the Badlands and we'd still be able to do everything that we had planned for that day. Well, it turns out that was not a shortcut. Okay, physically, it was a shortcut. In reality, it wasn't. It was, I think, 7 miles of straight road, nothing but gravel and tiny little hills. Um, the speed limit was 50, which I thought was insane because I think we did 12 mile an hour the entire way. So that was not stressful, but it was just like, oh, if we went the other way, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. But that shortcut, we did end up seeing a pronghorn and a vulture, so that was pretty neat. And ultimately, we did end up in the Badlands, uh, which was pretty neat to see. So we got there, we took some pictures, and drove. I think it ended up being, I don't know, maybe less than half of the park that we saw. And on our way out of there, we saw a bunch of people pulled off to the side of the road and looked over, and there were a bunch of bison not far from the road itself. So we stopped there and took a couple pictures. So from there, we started heading north to hit, I believe it was 90 again, which would eventually lead us to Custer and Mount Rushmore. But that is not what happened. We are currently sitting off of 90 in Wall, and no, not at Wall Drug. We just came through the Badlands State Park, and a big storm it was north and south, was coming east across the plains up here, and we are on a road where the crosswinds were just absolutely crazy. So we pulled off here at Wall Drug and we're waiting this out. I have no idea if it's through or not, but the clear sky is where we came from, and the dark sky is what is passing. So we're huddled up here. Abby got in the back seat with Bailee so that she could strap herself in and hold on to the mutt. Hey, Bailee. Yep, she's comfortable.
Wait.
So hoping that this storm passes, because that was not fun. I'm not a fan of wind or any of these big storms like this, so let's hope we make it through this without any issues. Our initial plan was to head from the Badlands down into Custer and see Mount Rushmore and Custer State Park, where you can see a bunch of wildlife. But the storm delayed us by way too long. So instead of risking it, we ended up just heading towards our next destination, which was Deadwood. One of the things I wanted to see was Sturgis, just to see what the motorcyclists see every year. And when we got close to there, Abby had seen um, Sturgis Brewing right off the highway. So we get off, we park, and Abby goes in and says, "Hey, one, is your patio open? And two, is it dog friendly?" So, sort of like the crash boom bang in Iowa, they said, yes, our patio is dog friendly, but the restaurant is also dog friendly. And we are just blown away at this point. Like, how is this even possible? So, we were able to go in and eat. I think we had flatbreads and drink beer, all the while Bailee was laying at the table beside us. And of course, she was interested in the flatbread and a beer, naturally. But that was a cool stop just to see some of that stuff. And the beer was good, the atmosphere was nice. And I'm glad that Abby found that when we got off the exit. So after we drank our beer and ate our pizza, we headed to our next stop, which was Deadwood.
Okay, so today we're getting ready to head out of the Deadwood KOA. Really nice spot. That was basically the view out of the back of the trailer. The front of the trailer, all woods. We're up on a hill and we're only like 5 minutes from Deadwood. So we went down there last night and had dinner at one place, Buffalo Bill's, I think, and we had a drink at Salon 10 where Wild Bill was killed. Anyway, we're off to Cody, Wyoming. We're gonna stop at that KOA for the night and maybe explore some of Yellowstone. So it should be about 6 hours and hope for a smooth drive. See you when we get there. All right, Bailee, I want to say bye. See you in a little bit. All right, see you then.
We left Deadwood and headed towards Cody, Wyoming. One of the things Abby wanted to see on this trip was snow, and I told her that I doubted that we would see any, but of course we did. And once we saw it on the mountains, we stopped and took some pictures with the mountains, the snow capped mountains in the background. Then we followed 16 and ended up at Powder River Pass, which it turned out to be pretty cold and there was snow on the ground there. But we got out, took a couple pictures, and continued on our way to Cody.
We are on a road called Gooseberry something or other. And for the last probably 20 minutes, there was nobody within view of us in front or in the back. It's safe to say that we were the only people in this area for the last 20 minutes or so, if not longer. But now we're heading into some sort of civilization. We saw 2 vehicles now. So we're almost there. Another 50 miles, 47 minutes. Cody KOA, as long as all goes well. See you soon.
After stopping at Powder River Pass and then being the only people on the Gooseberry Road, we ended up at our destination in Cody.
Today we are in Cody, Wyoming. Pretty much packed up, just got to hook up the truck, get the wheel tracks out, and we'll be off to Yellowstone, hoping to see some wildlife. But this campground was pretty quiet, actually. It was pretty windy last night. That was probably the only thing that wasn't great. That, and also being, as you'll see here in a second, super close. Now our slide is probably halfway in, if not a little bit more. We're about a foot and a half away from the neighbor's slide, but you can see the mountains in the background. Some of them are snow-capped. I don't know if the camera will pick those up, but we're right next to the Yellowstone airport. But like I said, next we're heading into Yellowstone and then down through the Grand Tetons, and then we'll end up, I think it's Dubois KOA. And I really don't know how long this is going to take, so we'll see. Hoping to see some wildlife, like I said, and we'll see you at the next stop.
We left the Cody KOA and headed west towards Yellowstone. Initially, when we got into the park, we didn't see any wildlife, but eventually we did see a bald eagle. From there, we were just randomly stopping, taking pictures of some of the amazing views within the park. But as we were coming around one of the bends, we saw something else.
They say that the trees aren't removed because burned and dead trees can contribute to the ecosystem. Dead standing trees provide nesting cavities for many types of animals. Fallen trees provide food and shelter for animals and nutrients for the soil.
Oh look, there must be animals back here.
Oh,
There is, it's a grizzly. Did
do
you
you
see
want to
it?
stop?
If we can try, I don't know if we're gonna be able to.
Sure enough, it was a grizzly and her cub. Bailee and Abby sat in the truck while I went and took a couple pictures, and on my way back, I looked off to my right and saw a bison. From there, we headed further into the park towards Old Faithful, and on our way there, we saw a couple herd of elk and, of course, bison, which are all over the place there. We also saw two huge, I think huge, bull elk off to the side of the road. Eventually, we ended up at Old Faithful where we took this picture. On our way out of the park, we stopped at a couple places and took pictures. And at some point, Abby, doing her navigating, found a different KOA to stay at, which was actually in Idaho. But before we get there, we drove down into the Grand Tetons, which was absolutely beautiful. And of course, had to stop and take a couple pictures there.
From the Grand Tetons, we headed into Montpelier, Idaho to the KOA there. Okay, so we did a little bit of a detour. We were going to end up in Dubois, Wyoming, if I pronounced that correctly, I'm not sure, yesterday, but today we would have had to end up backtracking through the Grand Tetons a little bit, therefore making our trip a little longer. So while we had about 2 minutes of service, Abby got online while we were in the Grand Tetons, I think, might have still been in Yellowstone, I'm not sure, and found a KOA with availability in Montpelier, if I said that right, Idaho. So that's where we're at, and we scrapped the Dubois, Wyoming. So now we're going to be going to Golden Spike, Utah, where the Transcontinental Railroad met. That should take about 3 hours, I think. Have to stop for fuel first, but this was a pretty nice campground. A little buggy, but last night was the first night on this trip where we were able to build a fire, sit and relax. We grilled out last night when we got here, so turned out to be pretty nice, and looks like another nice day. A couple clouds in the sky, but doesn't look like there's going to be any chance of rain here or in Utah. So should be a nice ride, hopefully, and we'll see you when we get to Utah.
The Montpelier KOA was definitely worth rerouting our trip. Definitely a nice campground, and I think all three of us enjoyed the night that we had there. As mentioned in the video before, our next stop was the Golden Spike National Historic Site in Promontory, Utah. The Golden Spike National Historic Site is where the Central Pacific Railroad and Union Pacific Railroad met back in 1869. The engine's really cool to see. While functioning, they are replicas and not the original locomotives. After our short stop to the Golden Spike National Historic Site, we headed south down towards Provo, Utah. And on our way there, we had the unfortunate experience of going through Salt Lake City during rush hour. That was some of the most brutal traffic that I think I've ever been in, but we made it.
All right, today is Friday, June 14th, and we are packing up here, or just about packed up at Lakeside RV in Provo, Utah. Yesterday we stopped at the Golden Spike National Park where the Transcontinental Railroad met. I spent a little bit of time there. It was pretty neat to see. So this was a pretty nice campground. Not allowed fires on sites without fire rings, but that was all right. Got to sit outside for a little bit last night. A little buggy, but not nearly as bad as it was the night before. So now we're probably going to stop at Bryce Canyon in southern Utah, but that all depends on how the day works out. And then stop for the night in Page, Arizona, right by Lake Powell. But we have to make a pit stop at Home Depot to hopefully fix our water pump issue, which really isn't a problem at the moment, but a couple campgrounds we go to next week do not have water, so we're gonna have to have access to our fresh water tank. So I think I know what the problem is, but time will tell if I'm able to fix it or not. So it's probably gonna be 5, 6, 6.5, maybe even 7 hours before we get there. Hoping for a nice trip. Weather looks pretty decent. So see you when you get. We'll see you when we get there. Frog, say hi, Frog. All right, till next time.
After leaving Provo, we headed south into Bryce Canyon, which I've been to before. Abby was not. Um, just a beautiful place. And when we got there, we pulled up to the gate, and the lady was like, "You have reservations?" We're like, "No." And she's like, "Well, you can't go in the park with the trailer if you don't have reservations or a camping spot." I'm like, "Well, we're only going to Sunset Point." And she was like, "Well, you can't go into the park with the trailer. You can drop it." I go, "Okay, where at?" She's like, "Not to Sunset Point." I'm like, "Okay, but where can I drop it?" And she's like, "Down the hill." And I'm like, I haven't been here with a trailer before, so I don't know where to drop it. So she told me, and whatever, it was a little fiasco. Um, but we dropped the trailer, went to Sunset Point. Bailee got to look around. Uh, Abby did too, of course. I was taking pictures, so Abby was holding on to Bailee. And then there was a group from, I think it was South Korea visiting, and they fell in love with Bailee and started petting her. I don't even know if they looked out at the scenery, but yeah, Bryce Canyon was fun, and we all enjoyed that just like we did um, the Golden Spike National Historic Site. We left Sunset Point, hooked the trailer back up, which was still there, thankfully, and headed down to Page Lake Powell Campground in Page, Arizona. Um, on our way there, we were real close to the campground, and I saw people up on the hill. I didn't know what they were doing. There were a bunch of people, so I was like, "Let's go there." And we go up, we park. We're looking out just over at Lake Powell there, and these girls were looking at Bailee, and they asked if they could pet her. Sure, no problem. So they start petting her, and I think it was Abby that said, "Wait, did we just see you? I recognized your top," or something like that. Sure enough, it was the same group from South Korea or wherever it was that we met 3 hours ago, however many miles away in Bryce Canyon, Utah. So they pretty much covered Bailee. We couldn't see her. We did let them take pictures with her. I think we have some, but I won't post them on here just because they didn't ask to be posted on YouTube. But yeah, that was kind of neat. Anyway, we hung out at this overlook for a little bit, took some pictures, and headed to the campground.
All right, today is Saturday, June 15th. Yeah, June 15th. We are at Page Lake Powell RV Resort, or Page Lake Powell Campground, something like that. We've had a really, really nice spot here. It's right on the bend, and we got a nice view of these mountains back here, these hills. I guess it's not really a mountain, but it's pretty beautiful. Last night, whenever the sun was setting, it was sort of shining over on there, made nice colors. I'll have a couple good pictures that I took, walked up on the hill way up there. I don't know, up there somewhere, right there. But that was fun. Anyway, this was a really nice campground. It is hot. I think it's going to be 100 something today, so that's okay. We're in Arizona. That's what you expect, right? We're going to stop at Horseshoe Bend and make our way south to Mesa, Phoenix area. We're gonna probably try to stop at the Grand Canyon. Well, we'll see how that goes, and now which route we take from there, I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out. hoping for another nice drive. Ignore the garbage. Yesterday was a really nice one, but I don't see a cloud in the sky here. So should take, I'm gonna guess, maybe 6.5 hours or so to get where we're going, and we'll see when we get there. See you later.
Page Lake Powell was a really nice campground. It was really quiet. The views were amazing, and we both just really liked it. Uh, Maybe if we were in a little further and not right on the edge looking up at that hill, it may have been a little different, but it was definitely a beautiful campground. When we left Provo, we did stop at Home Depot and pick up a couple parts to see if I could fix what I thought was a water pump issue. That actually turned out to be a cracked water line that I guess I didn't winterize over the winter before. So I was able to fix that while we were at this campground, and from there on, we had a working water pump. Uh, when we left the Page Lake Powell campground, we headed to Horseshoe Bend, which when we got there, we thought that we'd be able to take Bailee and the three of us would be able to go see it. But because it was so hot, we decided not to take Bailee, and Abby stayed back with her in the truck while I walked down to look. That turned out to be the smart move because the overlook was a lot further than what it looked like from the parking lot. So I went down there by myself. I think it was pretty far too. I think by the end of my walk, it was 1.4 miles or just under 1.5 total to and from. Uh, but it was worth it. It was pretty neat to see. And I took a couple pictures there. From there, we left Horseshoe Bend and headed south towards Mesa. Um, and we're deciding on whether or not we were going to stop at the Grand Canyon. But Abby pretty much wanted to because she had her national park pass, which she was so proud of. But before we could make it all the way there, she had to do some shopping.
She just walked from all the way over there, believe it or not.
After Abby finished her shopping at this stand, we headed south towards Mesa. On our way there, we decided that the south rim wasn't too far. The south rim of the Grand Canyon wasn't too far out of the way, so we ended up going there. Uh, it was really hot, naturally, Arizona, Grand Canyon. It was warm, so Bailee had her booties on, which she wore. I think it might have been one of the first couple times she wore them without trying to shake them off. So she did really well and got to overlook the Grand Canyon. That was clearly her first time, but it was also Abby's first time. Amazing views, of course, and we took a couple pictures there. We decided to go to the gift shop just to see if there's anything worth looking at, buying, and whatnot. And on the way there, instead of making Bailee walk, we decided to put her in her wagon and have her Milwaukee fan keeping her cool. And not only did her walking her booties draw a lot of attention, but that did as well. But South Rim of the Grand Canyon was really nice. Did buy a couple things in the store. I don't remember what, but we did. And I'm glad we stopped. From there, we headed to Mesa, which we stayed at the Lost Dutchman State Park, Lost Dutchman State Park campground. And that's where we headed.
Okay, so today we're packed up in Lost Dutchman State Park, and know if it's considered Mesa or right outside of Mesa, Arizona. Used to come here all the time as a kid, and been back here a few times since, but I wanted to make it here. Um, my brother lives about 25 minutes away. We got to spend some time with him yesterday and swim in his pool. He let Bailee swim in their pool, so that was a good time. We went out to dinner, met up with my aunt, who also lives not too far from here. I think about the same distance. But this campground, the one in Page was pretty tough to beat, but this one did it for sure. Probably our favorite campground, at least my favorite campground so far. The view of the Superstition Mountains. We got some pretty good night shots, which I think turned out pretty well. Somewhat blurry, but I mean, what can you expect? It was pitch black here, but they turned out pretty nice. Stars at night were beautiful. Just overall, just a great sight, great experience here in Arizona. See all kind of stuff here. The campground was quiet, which was amazing. Four Peaks is behind me somewhere. I can't see where it's at. Picture somewhere back there. But yeah, it was a great time, great sight. There were some houses right over my shoulder there. That was kind of bothersome, but nothing to complain about. But great sight. Next, we're headed to um, somewhere around Roswell, New Mexico. That's going to be the longest drive we've had yet. We were going to make a pit stop in Tombstone, but that's going to be kind of far out of the way and make our day of driving a little too long. So we're just going to cut right over to Roswell, and we'll see when we get there.
Forgot to mention in the video that I recorded in Lost Dutchman that before we went swimming at my brother and sister-in-law's house, we went to Canyon Lake to try to swim there. But when we got there, it was way too crowded, way more crowded than I remember it being there, what, I don't know, 15 years ago, and then also in my teens. So ultimately, we decided against that and decided to go to Dave and Deb's to swim. But that's okay because the ride was really nice and Bailee clearly enjoyed it. So, Lost Dutchman, like I said, absolutely amazing campground. We absolutely loved our spot. Would go back in a heartbeat. The only issue we really had there was it was so hot that our refrigerator couldn't keep up. So whatever we wanted to keep cool, we had to put in our freezer. Not a big deal. Nothing froze because the freezer couldn't keep up either, but it was keeping things cool enough that we didn't lose any food. So minor issue, nothing major, and still would go back. Once we left there, we went to the Goldfield Ghost Town. I think that's what it's called. An old ghost town down the street. They have a bunch of shops that you can buy souvenirs and whatnot, and a bunch of old buildings, and do some other stuff there. So that was pretty cool. Again, it was super hot, so Bailee and Abby stayed in the truck while I went and explored a little bit, took a couple pictures, and continued on our way to Roswell. We were somewhere close to the Arizona-New Mexico border, and the tires on the trailer were getting a little too hot, so we decided to pull off and let them cool down. And we did that at a Tractor Supply, and that's where we took this picture. But while that was cooling down, while they were cooling down, we went in, did a little shopping, came back out, everything was good to go, and we continued on our way. So on our way down to Roswell, or over to Roswell, I think it's more east to west, but On our way there, it took us down through White Sands, which was pretty cool. I didn't know we were going to see that, but it's still neat to see regardless. But then we saw what was coming next.
Alright, well, this is going to be a semi-quick video. We did not end up in Roswell last night like we had planned. Over my right shoulder, that empty spot is where we just pulled out from. We are about 2 hours from Roswell at the Four Winds Motel RV Park. There are multiple wildfires up on those mountains over there, and it rerouted us, and the road that it would have taken us on, Abby didn't feel comfortable doing the trip in the complete darkness in the middle of nowhere. So she found us this spot here. It was real cheap. They had full hookups, which was crazy. We weren't sure how safe we felt, but we had options to protect ourselves. But yeah, so today it's going to be about a 2-hour drive to Roswell, making a pit stop there instead of staying the night, and we'll be off to, I think it's called Indiana-Homa in Oklahoma, the Doris Campground. That's gonna be a long drive. I think today's probably gonna take about 8 or 9 hours, sort of like yesterday. So hopefully today goes smoother than yesterday. We hit some sketchy areas yesterday, both with the surroundings, and then also we were in areas where there was nothing for miles in any direction whatsoever, including other people on the road. So we had the tires overheating on the trailer, air pressure setting off the alarm in the truck. So it was an interesting day yesterday, so I'm hoping today goes a little smoother. So we'll see when we get to Oklahoma, maybe Roswell, one of the two or both. See when we get there.
We left the Valley Inn, or Four Winds Motel as it's really called, and headed towards Roswell. Even the roads we were on that were still a detour away from the fires, it made me glad that I listened to Abby and we stayed overnight in Carrizozo. It just wasn't worth it going up into the mountains whenever it was dark out, and not really knowing where we were. From there, we headed into Roswell. We didn't really know what to expect, but it turned out being a neat little town, tourist trappy, but it was still neat. I waited in the truck with Bailee while Abby went to the visitor center to see what we could do. And it turned out that the visitor center was dog friendly. So we were able to go in with Bailee, and she was there while we did some shopping, and also we were able to take a couple pictures with her. While checking out, the girl at the counter told us that the UFO or Area 51 museum, Roswell Museum, I don't remember what it was also dog friendly. So that was a couple blocks away, but we took Bailee anyway, and she was able to go around, and she was looking at this one alien confused, but it was pretty neat to see. It was worth it. It was a couple hour detour, but it was cool to see. From there, we headed to Indiahoma, Oklahoma. It was like a nature preserve or a wildlife refuge. I can't remember what it was. It was a pretty nice drive. We went up through Amarillo, Texas, which I would have liked to stop at for a drink or lunch or something, but time just didn't permit it. Matter of fact, when we got to the campground, it was dark as could be anyway, so I'm glad we skipped Amarillo.
Alright, so today we actually did make it to our destination. It was kind of late. maybe close to 10 last night, 9:30ish. It was extremely dark, could not see what our site looked like, but it turned out to be pretty nice. You can see right there, it's a lake back behind us. This is Doris Campground in Indiahoma. Okay, I have no idea where we were. Battery died. But anyway, we're in Indiahoma. I think I pronounced that right. Oklahoma. It's on a wildlife refuge. Neighbors right out there somewhere saw a longhorn this morning, so it was pretty neat. They said if you make a left out of the campground, you'll see some bison. So I think we're gonna do that, see if we see some bison. Then we're off to Arkansas. I'm not sure where we're staying there, but from what Abby said, it's a pretty nice campground. So looking forward to that. I think we're right on the Arkansas River. I think it should be about 6 hours or so. So it looks like it might rain, but when she checked the forecast yesterday, there's only a 1% chance. So we'll see. Hopefully another smooth ride. Yesterday was pretty smooth. We did stop in Roswell, which was pretty neat. Visited the visitor center, got some good pictures with Bailee, and the UFO Roswell Museum is dog friendly, so Bailee got to go in there too. So that was about an hour and a half pit stop, which is why we made it here a little late. I wanted to stop in Amarillo, maybe catch some lunch or a drink or something, but we just didn't have time, so that's okay. Hopefully we get to the next campground at a decent time where we can sit outside and enjoy the weather, assuming that it's nice there. Can't check since there's zero service where we are. So we'll see you when we get there.
As I mentioned, we got to the campground late, and with it being back in a nature preserve or nature reserve, whatever it was pitch black out. So, somewhat funny story. Abby and I are setting up, and we hear this noise. Now, we can't see anything at this point, just whatever light the truck is giving off. Anyway, we hear this noise. We both just look at each other, pause, and run back to the truck.
Frog, was that you?
Nope.
Oh, it was.
Okay, that wasn't the real sound, but it was funny regardless. Anyway, it was fine though. The next morning we got up, we left, and saw some longhorns on our way out, along with some bison. And I think this is even where Bailee started barking at them. From there, we headed to Arkansas to a place that I can't pronounce, that was right on the river, but it was a really nice place.
Okay, today we are in, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Maumelle, Maumelle Park in Arkansas. I have absolutely no idea what that word is, but there's Bailee laying in her cot. The site we have is perfect, right on the water. Right on the, I think this is the Arkansas River. I think I said that in the last video. Then halfway here, Abby said, "Oh, I think we're on a lake." And then she said, "No, we're on the river." So it's the river, I believe. But anyway, we're on this nice end spot here. Nobody can park beside us. It is really quiet last night. At first it was a little concerning because there were boats zipping up and down the water at probably like 11 o'clock last night, but it ended up being really quiet. Sunrise was absolutely amazing. So our bedroom window is right here. And looking out over here, the sun came up right over this way. So that was really nice. It was, I don't even know what time it was, 5 o'clock this morning or something like that. Got up and got a photo of that. Today we are off to, I forget the name of it, but somewhere in Tennessee. It's like a little over a 4-hour drive. So today, knock on wood, if I could find any, there's knock on some wood. Should be an easy drive. Yesterday turned out to be somewhat long, but not overbearable. That went smoothly. Wasn't too terrible. We are, however, there is a murderer somewhere around here. I don't know, I think maybe like an hour or two away from here. There's a guy that has killed a couple people, so we prepared ourselves for that just in case we needed to. So we're on the, like I said, I think the river here, and I think where we're going in Tennessee is also on a lake. So that's going to probably be another nice site. Abby's done pretty well at booking these, so hoping for an easy drive. We got our Cardinal out for Mom. Abby put that up when we got here, but should be easy drive today, hopefully, and we're gonna hang out here just for a little bit, maybe have a mimosa, and then we'll pack up and head east. Well, we'll see you when we get there. Bailee, say bye. See you then. Oh, and I have to add this to the video that I already took. Excuse me while I clean the lens. I have to add this to the video that I've already taken. Somewhere along the way, I believe it was in our impromptu stop at the motel. I don't even know what it was. This dummy, me, forgot to collect our water filter. So even though this site unexpectedly had water, we did not hook up to it because I don't have a water filter. I left it at the Motor Inn or Valley Inn, whatever the heck the motel is that we stayed at because of the New Mexico fire. So have to stop and get a new one of those today. That should be pretty easy to find, but we'll see.
Okay, this was another really nice spot. I guess the campground was nice too, but the spot we had was amazing, especially with it being right there on the river, and clearly the beautiful sunrise picture that we got from the trailer. They did end up catching that murder suspect at one of the exits we actually drove by the day before, so that's fun. But yeah, from there we headed to Pin Oak Campground in Tennessee, which again was another great spot.
Okay, so today we are at Pin Oak Campground in Tennessee. Again, Abby knocked it out of the park, I don't know, third, fourth time in a row with the campsite right here on the lake. It is hot. Humidity is a killer, but still absolutely enjoyable, quiet campground. We sat out last night, had a fire going. It wasn't too buggy, a little buggy, not too buggy at all. But it was a nice ride yesterday. A little hectic through Memphis, ton of traffic. The people down here drive a lot more crazy than I do, so that was fun. But now we're off to somewhere in Kentucky. Not quite sure where. She has something booked. I think it's on another lake or something like that. Lake, river, pond, something. The plan is to stop in Nashville, but if it's this hot, it's going to be too much for Bailee. Also, I think it was the camp hosts recommended Gatlinburg, so we might try one of those places. We're not sure. If not, we're off to Kentucky. We have no service here, so I had looked on my map that I created for this entire thing, and it looks like it's going to take about 5 hours. So I don't even know what time it is now. 10:30. I don't even know if we crossed to a time zone. I don't know much. So it should take 5 hours, somewhere around there, with us stopping for fuel. I'm gonna guess 5.5, and then if we stop in Gatlinburg or Nashville, I'm gonna guess it's gonna take about 7, but we'll see. Hopefully another nice ride. Hopefully a little less chaotic than yesterday. So we'll see you when we get there. Bailee, you want to say bye? Ready? Okay, Frog. Say bye. Ha! No, look at the car. She doesn't care. All right, we'll see you when we get there.
We left Pinot Campground, but did not stop in Gatlinburg like the camp host had suggested. Instead, we tried Nashville. So we pull on to Broadway, and that ended up being way too chaotic for us. So we got out of there as soon as we could. A few blocks away, we found Tennessee Brew Works, which was dog friendly, so that was good. We stopped there and had a couple beers and a charcuterie board, if that's how you say it, and then got back on our way. Now, I looked before the trip, um, and I kind of forgot about it, but along the way was the Corvette Museum. So I had planned on stopping there, um, and did not tell Abby. So that was a surprise to her that she definitely liked. So we get there. Clearly, it's not dog friendly. So Abby was able to go in without paying admission. She was able to see a bunch of the new Corvettes that were waiting to be picked up at the museum by their new owners, and a couple other cars that she could see that were on display. And of course, she did some shopping. So after we left the Corvette Museum, we headed to Whispering Hills RV Park in Kentucky, which was our last overnight stop of the trip.
Okay, so today is our last day. It's Saturday, June something. I have absolutely no idea what today's date is. But we are Whispering Hills RV Park in Kentucky. And once again, Abby hit a home run with sight. As you can see, we're right on another lake. I think this is a third or fourth one in a row. I can't even remember. But the nice sight, this campground is packed, or was packed. There's a ton of people in here. I got a couple of drone shots to show how packed it is, or was. But it was a little noisy, but what do you expect with that many people? The site, though, is just super nice. We stayed hooked up, that way we could get going at a decent time today. It's like a 5-hour, 40-minute drive to home, but we are going to stop at Buffalo Trace Distillery. At least that's the plan. I'm guessing that's probably going to add an hour on, so hoping we'll be home between 5 and 7 tonight while it's still light out. Chance of rain when we get home, so that's never fun, but we've been pretty fortunate with that this entire trip. We had like a 2-second sprinkle, I think 2 days ago, and then almost tornado we were in coming out of the Badlands. I think that's about it. So it's been a great trip, great weather most of the time. Travel's been pretty decent. It's been a pretty fun trip. So, yesterday we did stop at the Corvette Museum. I had planned that and then forgot until we were about 30 miles away. So Abby went in, she didn't pay the admission, she just went in, looked inside, and went to the gift shop. So that was kind of neat. Bailee got her picture taken there, and that was that. So hopefully today goes smooth and it works out the way that we have planned. That was a fun cross-country trip, that's for sure. Oh, and Abby's favorite part, the states that we have been to. All right, till next time.
Whispering Hills, I think, was a nice campground. We didn't really explore it. Like I said in the video I took when we were there, it was really crowded. More crowded than what we're used to, but the site that we had there made it worth it. It sort of allowed us to tune out how busy it was and all of the other people. I mean, it wasn't noisy, but there were just so many people. Um, but it's okay. Not sure we'd go back, but it was good for a night stopover. We stayed hooked up to the truck so that when we got up the next day, it made our cleaning up a lot easier, and we could just get up and get going. That would be to our next stop, which was Buffalo Trace Distillery. We had to backtrack a little bit to get there, but um, when we got there, definitely worth it. So we found out that Bailee could do one of the tours, but not the rest of the tours. Didn't matter. We really didn't want to do them, and it was extremely hot, so it didn't matter. But she was allowed in the tasting room with us, where we tasted all of these alcohols. Um, she was allowed to go all through like the top floor where they did, like I said, all the tastings. There was a bar, some souvenirs, gift shop, and then she was able to go downstairs into the actual gift shop, which sort of blew our minds a little bit because, you know, they have barware, glasses, whatever, all over the place down there. Um, Bottles of bourbon, vodka, whatnot, and they allowed a 75 pound. Sorry, Bailee. Golden retriever to go, walk around there, and they just treated her like she was another person. The workers stocking the shelves with the bourbon, with the glass, with all of the breakable things would stop and be like, "Oh my God, can I please pet her?" So, or they would say him. They always call Bailee him. But anyway, they'd stop and pet her, and it was we couldn't believe it. So we would definitely go back to Buffalo Trace, just because it was so Bailee friendly. I know dog friendly, but we'll call it Bailee friendly. Uh, Definitely made it worth it. Where we parked, when we went to leave, it wasn't exactly clear, so we sort of got lost on the site. And we came around one bend, and there were a bunch of people, I think, waiting for us, telling us, "Yeah, this way. You can't go that way. You got to come out." But that's okay. It was fun. Definitely would go back to Buffalo Trace. Definitely switching my bourbon brand to that. specifically because they were so accommodating to us with our, we won't say your weight, golden retriever. But from there, uh, we headed back to Pennsylvania.
Alright, so we made it home last night, I think around 20 to 8. Wasn't a bad ride at all, really. We did stop at Buffalo Trace, which was really cool to see, and they're really nice to Bailee. Bought a couple bottles of bourbon, bottle of vodka, some souvenirs, and then I believe it was, I don't know, 5.5 hours more to home. Had to stop for fuel twice. Of course, we stopped in West Virginia because it was about $1 cheaper per gallon, you know, because once you cross the state line into PA, automatically, for whatever reason, you know, fuel costs more. Just different what they do here in PA, I guess. Anyway, we made it home. It's windy today. Might have to scrub the bugs off the trailer and also off the front of the truck. I'm unsure what I'm gonna do yet. Still have to unpack, because once we got home last night, we just relaxed, got out a couple things that we needed to, and hung out for a little bit. So today, I don't know, I might have to clean this. I mean, it's pretty rough, and I really don't want these sitting on there for too long, because I think they'll be harder to get off. So I might do that today, even though it's not what I want to do. I think it's most likely what's going to happen. And unpacking the trailer, unpacking the truck. Not sure if I'll get the trailer back where it belongs tonight, but we'll see. So it was a good trip, good time. We finished with just under 6,000 miles on the entire trip and averaged 9.9 miles per gallon. So it was a good time. Looking forward to whatever we do next, wherever we go. We're not quite sure where that is or when it's going to be, but if it was as good as this trip, looking forward to it. Till next time.